Welcome everybody for our first live meeting since COVID started. And you will see that we are now doing a hybrid approach so that those who prefer to watch from home can do so. And then we can also record this so that we can put the recordings up on our new YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know, we have Cherry Creek North Neighborhood Association. Go to YouTube, you find it. There's a wonderful, wonderful history video that Ron, most of you know Ron Brady, he did that. We might have stepped out for a minute. Is Ron in here? There he is back there. He did a great job with that. So it's a wonderful vehicle for us to keep you informed. I'm Lou Raiders. I'm your current president of the association. And tonight we have a really packed agenda. I'm going to just make sure everybody is able to start this video and see if that works. Okay, hello to everybody out there. It looks like we have 55 participants by Zoom. And together with those who are in this room, I think that may be an all-time high for one of our neighborhood meetings. With so thank you all for being here. Elected and brought in to, and this year we actually have several board members. So I did put the slate up on the last email for everyone, but I had a little slip and forgot Ernie. So I'm going to just read those names to you, and those of you who are in the room, if you could give a shout out tonight. Many of these people have served before in one capacity or another. Ernie Gormsman, who you might have met, she is out signing people up and making sure that we know who's here tonight. She is actually fairly new to our board, and she has taken over membership and is doing a great job, and we're so thankful for her. She's done a great job. Ingrid Glancy, probably not here.
There's problems with the audio on Zoom.
Okay, Kay. Let's see. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
It's better, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to assume it is. I'll try to talk closer to the computer. So this is, again, please be patient with me. This is our first hybrid meeting, and we're going to try to do it the best we can. So with that, Ingrid Glancy has served for many, many years, and she has agreed to run again. She also serves on the steering committee. Leslie New, who does the newsletter, who was a little weary of doing the newsletter on her own, and so she talked Wayne into helping her, and in turn, Wayne got talked into being back on the board. So we have Leslie New and Wayne New. He will also help on membership. He's already been a great help on that. And then you have yours truly, I've re-upped for another 3 years and agreed to serve as your president for the next 2. While Linda Barker, our new vice president right here, has agreed to take over and is
Hey, Laura. How are you?
president.
I'm good. Are you at a restaurant?
I just
Somebody has to mute.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, we did. Everybody is muted, but occasionally they can unmute themselves. So if everybody out there on Zoom can keep yourself muted, and if anybody has any questions or comments tonight, please do put them in the chat if you were on Zoom. And please, if you're in the audience, wait until we ask for questions. That would help us, again, kind of navigate this new hybrid world that we are in. So I do encourage anybody and everybody who wants to get involved with the organization, whether you want to serve on the board or just get a taste of some help service. Many of you have. Susan Mason, who's done an amazing job volunteering for us and providing some support. Still does that. We have Jeff, Bernard, and Kathy who still sponsor some things. So there's that, but there's also just the worker, Susan Thompson, who spent hours working on Sip and Savor. And so there are a lot of ways to get involved. And then if you like it, we can talk you into coming on to the board. It is a lot of fun. And then of course, we help try to make sure that there are 4 robust general neighborhood meetings for you all. And we have those scattered throughout the year. The next one will actually be in February. So I will tell you as another housekeeping matter, I think I've told you this before, but we really are trying to get a new website up and running that will be robust. It will have a lot more information, easy access, all of the newsletters, links to all of these meetings, and a lot of current information, because we only see you all for these meetings 4 times a year. It is our goal. Oh, Ingrid's here. Hi, Ingrid. She actually is back there. We need to find a way to help you stay educated, up to date. There's a lot going on in the neighborhood. Many of you know that because you actually live here. And we've got Denver Moves Cherry Creek, which is a very large analysis of transit issues. That is a subset of Denver Moves Everyone, which is part of the Department of Transportation renewed effort to try to figure out how to move people in the ways that people now move, including all those guys on scooters that are motorized and those who can stand on scooters. I can't. And e-bikes, I can. So all of those new modes of transportation get put into the mix when we think about how to move people, where to park people, how do we actually make it efficient for people in our neighborhood. We also want you to stay up to speed on new rezonings and new developments. And there are several meetings where we have that material captured. You can go to the YouTube channel and watch those, and you'll see pictures of proposed new developments so that you can kind of know what to expect when there's a street closure and there's yet another crane in our neighborhood. It's now our neighborhood bird. So I would like just right now to do just that annual housekeeping. If I could just have a motion from someone to approve that slate of new directors. Second, and all in favor? Thank you. And those at home, if you could just give a wave. Thank you. See, you can see all your neighbors up there. So thank you very much for that. There are a couple little things I'd like to just mention also in the way of housekeeping. First of all, Councilwoman Sawyer is here. She could you say hi. As you all know, we are sliding into District 5 in the next year. So we will have a lot of information about what those changes mean. What is our new district? Who else will be in our district? And who will our council people be who will be running for that seat? We always have a goal of either having some candidate forums or connecting you to those that are larger than just our district. But certainly for our district, we'll see you all here when we start moving ahead with that process. A couple of other things in your newsletter. I hope everybody got their written newsletter. Do you still enjoy getting that in the mail? Yeah. Well, we can thank Leslie and Wayne for all of that work. And there's an article in there about Sip and Savor, and Linda Barker and Susan Thompson and others who put that on worked really, really hard, and it was very successful. That is our charity give back event. It's not only just so fun to be up at on the outside patio area of Room and Board, but we made over $8,500 that will be split for Urban Peak, which is, do you all know what Urban Peak is? It's a nonprofit organization that helps homeless youth located in downtown. Great programs, expanding, they do amazing work. And Food for Thought, which is an organization Linda turned us on to this year. and they gather food and every Friday, they put bags together to take to schools to provide food for kids and their families who need food for the weekend. So it's an amazing organization, and they were thrilled to have our donation. And we just look for more ways for people to volunteer. We are so privileged to be in this neighborhood and to live this great life. And it's nice to be able to give back to people who are not so fortunate. So thank you guys, everyone who contributed and enjoyed all of that. So with that, and it was really fun too. So great food and great conversation. It was so good to see everybody there.
I'd like to say something. That Food for Thought organization every Friday gathers under the Colfax Avenue down by the river. They're under the bridge in case of bad weather, but they get students from the local quadrangle up there for the 4 colleges, or 3 of them. And they all come down to pack food and put it in trailers, which will be delivered the following Friday, while the food that was packed last Friday is being delivered this Friday. So it's quite an amazing thing to watch, and they certainly appreciate having visitors come and see what they're up to. Thank you.
So that's a good note for anybody. If there's just a time that you just want to go help volunteer, that is available. I think we also put out a notice that this year we will be working with Lowry Urban Neighborhoods on their on the holiday event. And so I think that Wayne is that filled up? It's the Salvation Army. We've done it many years, and then of course, like many things during COVID, it stopped. But is that filled up, Wayne, or do you still need any? So if anybody wants to do that again this year, anybody done that in the past? It's very fun. Please contact Wayne. His email will make available to you if you don't already have it. And it should be, as soon as we get our website, we'll make it really easy for you to find all that information out. But he still has a few spots left, so if you want to do that, again, our goal is to make sure that we have opportunities to spend time together, to do good for other people. And that's just one aspect. Another aspect is the social events. Another aspect is to keep you all educated so that you are not surprised when something happens in the neighborhood. And when appropriate, we'll gather your opinions like we did for group living, try to get you educated on some of those difficult legislative changes, and then allow you to have a say in what is happening. And we'll be doing that tonight. Just a little overview of the rest of our agenda tonight. We will have this landmark presentation toward the end. We are going to start, however, I should say one other thing that's on my list, and Ernie who's standing out there reminded me. October is our renewal time. So if you haven't renewed your membership, it's $40 per household. And it helps us fund these kinds of things, these kinds of events, also with our great donors. Fabulous. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. And there you go. You can do it, even a check. I think that Ernie will even take cash. But thank you for doing that. I kind of liken it to like public radio or public television, where everybody gets to enjoy the benefits. And then a few people, where they can, they volunteer and pay for it. So in this neighborhood, it's pretty easy to ask everybody for $40. I don't think we bought a bottle of wine at one of the restaurants for less than that. So anyway, it helps us help you, helps us be stronger and have a stronger voice in our city. So with that, I would like to go first to our keynote speaker here. Jim Lochhead, who is the CEO of Denver Water, is here to tell us about Denver Water and to walk us through help us understand what is happening. And with that, I'd like you to welcome him to the podium. Tell me a little about yourself, Ed.
Okay. So, first of all, let me express my appreciation. Inviting me to move
And here,
and
Hang on a second, maybe trade me places. And let's,
there you go.
please mute yourselves at Sam, thank you.
And Councilwoman Amanda Sawyer, glad to see you and nice to see you here. So my name is Jim Lochhead. I'm the CEO of Denver Water. Denver Water, as I go around the metro area, is a well-recognized name, but it's interesting how much people really don't know about Denver Water. Just a little bit of background on myself. I'm a lawyer by trade, went to University of Colorado Law School, practiced law in Glenwood Springs for about 30 years, doing Western Slope water rights work, and then also nationally in the Great Lakes, in the Snake River Basin, in the Pecos River Basin, and internationally practiced at the Brownstein Law Firm, was executive director of the Colorado Department of Natural Resources, and then have been the CEO of Denver Water since 2010, which is really an exciting, stimulating, mission-driven organization that I'm just have been thrilled and energized to be the head of. Do you want me to drive this, or do you want to drive this? I'll just keep talking while she's doing that. And one of the things I love about having been in both private practice and government work at the state level, and then now in this at Denver Water, is the mission-driven values and organization and the people that work for this organization. We have 1,100 employees who are dedicated to providing clean, safe, healthy water to the residents of Denver every single day. People don't really think about, when you turn on your tap, what is behind all of that. And hopefully that's what we'll talk about a little bit tonight. You buy a bottle of water and it's really, really expensive compared to the value of the water that you're getting at your tap. So what I'd like to do is just give a little bit of an overview, talk about some of the major initiatives that we have underway, talk about some of the overarching broader water management challenges that we have in the Denver metropolitan area and regionally in the Colorado River Basin in particular, and then kind of some of the solutions we have for long-term sustainability. And I'm going to rely on you to cut me off. We want to go for about 20 minutes and then maybe some questions, or how do you want to do that? And I'm trying to figure out how to advance these slides. There we go. This one. This one. Here we go. Okay.
Is there a way for us to see the slides?
Oh, we need to share the screen.
Thank
what?
you.
It is up there. That's on Zoom.
We can't see it though on Zoom.
Okay. See, this is what you get when you, I'm going to have to close it out and just go back for a second.
Well, while Lou's doing that, Denver Water. was established in 1918 under the Denver City Charter. We are an enterprise of the city. And what the charter did was establish that Denver Water has all the rights and authorities of the city and county of Denver with regard to the municipal water supply for the city. And it was established in really an interesting history. For those of you who might be interested in the history of Denver Water, I would recommend a book written by Patty Limerick called A Ditch in Time, which is the history of a water utility, which might sound really boring, but if you know Patty, she's an engaging writer, and she really tells the story of the history of Denver Water, which is part of the history of the city and county of Denver. There were a lot of competing private water companies that were providing water to Denver, and they were really doing a terrible job. As Denver was growing, they were competing. There were floods on Cherry Creek. It was terrible water quality. They began the construction of Cheeseman Dam, for those of you who've been up at Cheeseman Dam, which was flooded out, and then began reconstruction. And so the city fathers, I guess they were fathers at the time, but fathers and mothers, our predecessors, our leaders in the city of Denver, decided that water was really an apolitical issue. It was a long-term issue. It was something that, in order for the future of Denver to thrive, was something that the people of Denver should invest in and should establish as a separate enterprise. So the Denver Board of Water Commissioners is a 5-person board appointed by the mayor for overlapping 6-year terms. And again, the very purpose of that organization is that it be apolitical, be able to take the long-term view. So Denver Water, we have our own enterprise fund. We have our own employee base, 1,100 dedicated employees. We float our own debt. We do our own long-term planning. And we provide the water supply not only for the city and county of Denver, but also for residents of the suburbs of Denver. We have about 1.5 million customers.
We lost him.
Hang on, please.
And about half of them are,
I just need to get that. I have to do it.
There you go.
I know, but I have to hit share.
how many of you are been familiar with
right
Denver
there.
Water?
We've lost the audio, Lou.
Hang on,
Yeah.
please. Just please wait just a minute. That's what I did. Yeah, it might be different than yours. So let me just see if I can get it up.
Yeah.
Can any of you see this at home now? It says participants can now see your screen. Can you
Yeah,
see
I
it?
see Denver Water.
Yes.
Yes. Well
Okay.
done.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
For your patience.
Brilliant IT support.
Right.
This is a neighborhood organization, so thanks for your patience.
Hmm.
All right. Okay. So for those of you who are on Zoom, I was just talking about the history of Denver Water, the fact that we are a separate enterprise of the city, 5 board members appointed by the mayor, and really a vast system that really transcends half of Colorado and speaks to the vision of the leaders of Denver that established this system back in 1918. And I'm still struggling to advance the slides now. I'll just touch the next one. Here we go. So this is a map of our service area for those of you who aren't familiar with it. We obviously serve the city and county of Denver, as well as most of the suburbs of Denver, south of the Boulder Turnpike, north of C-470, east of Golden, west of Arvada, or Aurora, excuse me, and you see a donut hole in the middle, which is the city of Inglewood, which we all have histories in the Denver metro area of our neighborhoods, and Inglewood at one point in history decided that they didn't want to be part of Denver Water. And so that's why that donut hole exists. The Denver water collection system is really vast, over 4,000 miles of watershed area. We are wholly dependent on rainfall, precipitation, snowfall from the mountains of Colorado, which fortunately provides really high quality water. You can see from the map, there are really kind of two systems. There's a north system, which originates in Grand County in the Fraser River Basin, that diverts water through the Moffett Tunnel into South Boulder Creek, that comes into Gross Reservoir, goes into the north end of the Denver metropolitan area. And the south system, which is originates in the Blue River in the Silverthorne Dillon area. Dillon Reservoir is owned by Denver Water, diverts water through the Roberts Tunnel, which at the time it was built was the longest underground tunnel that was ever built, into the South Platte Basin. And then the South Platte, the south system in the South Platte River Basin has really an enormous array of reservoirs, 11 Mile, Cheeseman, Strontia, Williams Fork is on the west slope, but we have a number of different reservoirs that collect water through the system and deliver it to the metropolitan area. Again, 4,000 miles of watershed. I'll talk about our commitment to watershed health and the environment as we go through this. So again, brief overview of who we are. Some of the major initiatives that we have. The first thing I want to talk about is Denver Water's lead reduction program. Has anybody here had their lead service line replaced? One person here, a couple of people over here. I would love to hear your feedback as to how it went. But Denver Water, the water that we provide is lead free, and I'm sure you're all aware of Flint, Michigan, the lead line problem in the United States. We have these lead service lines that are in our system that were installed early in the 20th century, that run from the main, which is the water line that goes through the street, into your residence. At one point in time, Denver Water actually required those lines be lead. Interesting history there. It was the plumbers union. Lead lines were very easy to manipulate. They're easy to install, but now we know they caused severe health problems. Water is incredibly corrosive, and when it goes through a lead service line, or really any metallic line, it tends to leach the metal from the line into the water supply. And so what it would tend to do is in the lead service line between the main and the house is leach lead from the lead service line into the house. We can control that somewhat through our treatment techniques by manipulating the water chemistry of the water, either the pH or by adding phosphates into the water that create a scale coating on the inside of the lead service line that prevents the lead from leaching into the water supply. That's what we've been doing for years and years and years. Well, in 2012, we're required to test by the EPA regularly houses with lead service lines, and we had an exceedance of the EPA notification level, which required us to look at our corrosion control treatment systems. We did that through a number of tests and determined that adding orthophosphate into our treatment process would be more effective in creating that coating in the lead service line. And so the state health department actually ordered us to do that. We thought about that, and in really thinking about that, we decided that that was really not in the best interest of public health, because we literally were not taking care of the root cause of the problem, which was the lead service line itself. We were literally putting Band-Aids on a problem. It also would create severe environmental problems downstream on the South Platte River through nutrient loading. So for a number of reasons, we pushed back on the state health department and the EPA. And through a series of negotiations, the EPA granted us a variance under what's called the lead and copper rule under the Clean Water Act to undertake a lead line reduction program. And so under that kind of holistic program, we established a process by which we would agree to remove all of the lead service lines within our system, 64,000 to 84,000 lines over a 15-year period. In the meantime, we would distribute pitcher filters to every home that is known or suspected of having a line. We would undertake a program to determine how many lines are actually in our system. And because these are privately owned, we didn't actually have records of where they were, which homes had lines. So we have to do a lot of deduction to figure out where all these lines are. We would do an extensive public outreach and education program. And we would undertake a pH adjustment in our treatment process to improve the corrosion control in our system. So those are the basic elements of this program. Importantly, the costs of this program are not borne by individual homeowners. The costs of this program are borne by all of the ratepayers in our system. We determined that this is a public health issue. This is a water treatment issue. This is an issue that affects affluent people, not affluent people across different neighborhoods, and that we needed to basically get after this problem as a basic public health issue. So the EPA approved this program 3 years ago. We committed to removing 4,500 lines a year in the various elements of the program. They actually committed not to the 15-year process, but to a year 3 review process to determine if we were being successful in the implementation of that program. This year is the 3rd year in that program. So we are up for review by the EPA this year. And I'm happy to report that we have exceeded every benchmark that was required of us in this program. We've removed all the lines, we've distributed the filters, we have broad public acceptance. We have been tremendously successful in our corrosion control process. And we are hopeful and expectant of having the EPA extend this program for the balance of the 15 years of the life of this program and removing every lead service line from within our system. Thank you. It's really a groundbreaking and nation-leading program. The other thing that we're doing is we have applied for federal funding through the Infrastructure Act that's available for lead line replacement. We have applied and have been approved for the receipt of $76 million of federal dollars through the state, half of which is grant that is to be used in underserved areas of our community, half of which is low interest loans. And we're not going to use that money to replace money that we otherwise would have spent on this program. We're going to use this money to accelerate this program. We would like to take this 15-year program and turn it into a 14, 13, 12, 11, however much we can accelerate and shorten this program. That's what we want to do. So I apologize for being in your streets, and we are doing our best to coordinate with the city on paving and other schedules. But please realize that the importance of this program for public health as we go through neighborhoods and we replace lead service lines. You're also aware that we do have a main replacement program where we regularly replace water mains in the streets. And as we go up and down the streets, we are replacing those lead service lines as we go. Finally, I will mention for those of you who might be waiting for a lead service line replacement, and I'll mention that you can go onto our website and you can actually look at your address and you can see, do I have a lead service line, or do we think you have a lead service line, and you know what you can do about it, education. But we have an incentive program where we will pay for a portion of the cost of replacing your lead service line if you want to jump ahead and just go ahead and replace your lead service line. So there's that available too. We have a program where we go through and identify the various priorities of neighborhoods that we're going to go through and do that. But just be aware that we have that program as well. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is our capital improvement program. Denver Water is in the largest capital improvement program in our history. We're scheduled to spend over $2.3 billion over the next 5 to 10 years on various capital improvements, mostly at this point in time related to what the north end of our system. And if you recall from that system map, that's the system that diverts water from the Fraser River Basin in Grand County through the Moffett Tunnel into South Boulder Creek in Boulder County, through Gross Reservoir into our Moffett treatment plant and into the north end of our system. Part of the challenge that we have is that 80% of the water supply in our system is in the south end, from Dillon Reservoir and the South Platte River. Only 20% is at the north end. In 2002, we had a severe challenge where we had a drought situation where we were literally running out of water in the north end of our system. We were also hit by wildfires in the south end of our system. You might remember the Hayman fire, the Buffalo Mountain fire, which created severe water quality problems in our system. So we determined that part of the solution to this problem was to enlarge Gross Reservoir and also to build a new water treatment plant in the north end of our system and a new conduit, basically renewing the north end of our system. For those of you who may have driven between Golden and Boulder on Highway 93, you might have noticed a major construction project on the west side of the road there by Candelas. That is a new water treatment plant for the city and county of Denver. We're really proud of that plant because part of our commitment is towards sustainability. And we have the opportunity to do renewable energy generation at that particular site. And I challenged our engineers to set up a water treatment plant that could actually run off the grid. They looked at me and they said I was crazy, that there was too much risk. We can't do that. We have to be connected to the grid. Well, I said, you know, try it. And so they went back and they developed, first of all, a very efficient, cost-effective water treatment plant. So it drove the cost down. The other thing that it did was it challenged them to generate energy in the treatment process and in hydroelectric generation potential that we had at the site. So we're now actually connected to the grid at that site, but the reason we're connected is because we're a net energy generator. We're actually producing power at that treatment plant and selling it back to the grid, which saves our ratepayers money. The other thing that we're doing is enlarging our Gross Reservoir. You may have seen newspaper reports over the last 20 years. We have been involved in a 20-year journey of federal, state, local permitting, negotiation, litigation over the construction of that reservoir that goes back to the Two Forks Reservoir Project, for those of you who might remember that. I won't go into that whole history, but needless to say, we've been through 20 years of intense permitting, negotiation, and litigation, which continues to this day, despite the fact that we are under construction toward that reservoir. That reservoir is essential toward balancing our system and addressing the water supply drought issues and wildfire mitigation issues that I talked about. Scheduled to be completed in about 4 years. So looking more broadly in terms of our water challenges for the Denver metropolitan area, obviously we face the challenge of a warming climate. As I mentioned at the outset, our water supply is dependent on snowmelt and rain, and that is hugely affected by a warming climate. We're seeing snowmelt a lot earlier, at least 2 to 3 weeks earlier than normal. We're seeing a lot more severe weather events. The 2013 flood comes into mind, and we're also seeing more catastrophic wildfire events, and those affect our water supply. And so those are all issues that we are planning to confront over the next decades in terms of both water quality and environmental sustainability as we move forward. Growth is another issue, and as part of the negotiation process that I talked about for the enlargement of Gross Reservoir, Denver Water entered into kind of a global peace agreement with Western Colorado that encompassed huge areas. It took 6 years of negotiation to develop this agreement. But part of that agreement was that Denver Water agreed to confine our service area to essentially our existing boundaries with few exceptions. So what we serve today as Denver Water, what you receive in your water supply today is fixed. We're not looking to expand our service area. We're not looking to go, if you're living in Aurora, out to Kansas or wherever. It is what it is. And so what that gives for us in Denver is a lot of security in terms of our water supply and our fixed service area. That having been said, we face regionally, obviously, a number of challenges in terms of growth. Northern Colorado is exploding. The northern Douglas County area has been exploding, and they are dependent on, in large part, on finite water supplies in the Denver Basin. Water supplies that are literally being mined and that will run out over time, that need to be replaced with renewable supplies. Aurora has their own set of water challenges, and as I mentioned, Aurora is looking eastward and expanding. They're not limited in terms of their annexation. So what happens around us obviously affects us. And because of the system that Denver Water has, we're going to be looked at as leaders in helping to solve these regional problems. Denver Water serves 25% of the state's population. We use only 2% of the state's water supply. And yet, obviously, we're looked at, even with our fixed service area, as a leader. Finally, I'll mention the Colorado River. You've probably seen press reports of the state of the Colorado River, the drought that's existed since the year 2000, and the decline in reservoir supplies that fuel that basin. I won't go into a lecture on the Colorado River Compact, but needless to say, the Colorado River serves 40 million people, over 5 million acres of irrigated agriculture, and is controlled by a very complex series of compacts, Supreme Court decrees, federal laws that govern the operation of reservoirs and the allocation of water among those 7 states, 40 million people, 5 million acres of irrigated agriculture. Over time, because of the vast amount of storage in that system, and because of federal government operating rules, the lower basin, California, Arizona, and Nevada, and Mexico, have enjoyed the benefit of having a savings account to draw on as we've been through a recession. I'll call it a recession, a drought in the Colorado River Basin. In contrast, in the upper Colorado River Basin, in Colorado, Wyoming, New Mexico, and Utah, we have been limited by hydrology. We have been limited by the prior appropriation doctrine, which allocates water rights by priority. And so we have been living within our means. We have been living within our budget. And so what we have seen over the last 20 years is that the savings account in Lakes Powell and Meade, which control the regulation of water down to the lower basin, have been depleted. And there's no line of credit. Once those savings accounts run out, that water supply is gone. And so what that means for Colorado is the potential for state basin-wide litigation, the potential for cuts in Denver's water supply, as well as the water supply of the entire Front Range, as well as Western Colorado. And so I have been engaged in intense negotiations among the 7 states toward how to deal with this challenge. Unfortunately, no agreement has been reached to date, and we're facing a potential catastrophe on the Colorado River if there's not an agreement reached between the federal government and the basin states on the river that could inure to the Denver water supply. So it's an interesting, I mean, it's an issue that we are heavily engaged in and monitoring as we go forward. So with that, Lou, I think I'm gonna cut to, I will say one thing quickly about the Colorado River, and that is that, and this is a topic of conversation within this neighborhood association in this area. And that is that as part of the solution on the Colorado River, Denver Water entered into a memorandum of agreement with Aurora, Colorado Springs,
We're about ready to go.
Northern Colorado, Pueblo, Las Vegas, and the Los Angeles area in a commitment to further our efforts toward water conservation, water efficiency, water reuse and recycling, and also reducing what's called non-functional turf within our service areas. And as part of that commitment, we agreed to reduce non-functional turf by 30% within our service areas. So what is non-functional grass or non-functional turf? It is turf, bluegrass that you look at that only sees a lawnmower, that nobody uses, nobody recreates on, nobody picnics on. Think about tree lawns, think about center medians, think about the Denver Tech Center where there's a lot of grass. I think that in a Western arid landscape, we need to come to the reality of the role of landscaping within our service areas. And so we have committed to begin a campaign toward the removal of non-functional turf. But it's also important to recognize that that non-functional turf needs to be replaced adequately with attractive native landscaping, not hardscaped. It also needs to be removed in a way that doesn't kill the tree canopy in our urban areas, because the tree canopy is incredibly important socially, economically, and environmentally. We also need to be aware of underserved communities, many of whom don't have functional turf, much less non-functional turf. So it's a complex, it's also a very expensive issue to discuss, but it's an issue that as Denver Water, we've made the commitment to embark on the journey of transforming overall our landscaping in our urban areas toward more native, drought resilient, climate adaptive species in landscaping. So again, I would love your input on that particular issue, as well as lead reduction or any other issue, or we can just stop if I've gone too far.
So much on this So the last- Have a lot of questions, and I'm sure many maybe it was that big graph around some of the apartments. It's not installed correctly and it smells terrible. So there are ways to do things right, which we've got in our backyard, it gets rinsed every day. And there are ways to do it incorrectly, and I appreciate you being a part of the solution. Even changing the photographs, I'm sure matters. So this is the beginning of the conversation. And Jim, if you don't mind, when we'll be putting this up on our website when we get our new website launched, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll actually come back.
Okay.
But do we have any questions right now? We've got, yeah, we've got about 5 minutes for questions. Yeah.
Yeah, what year did you stop putting in lead lines?
Please repeat the question.
Yeah, so the question was, what year
Yes.
did we stop putting in lead service lines? I'm gonna say it was around 1985. And again, you can go on our website and you can actually see your house and whether you're suspected of having a lead service line or not. Okay. Great question. So the main lines down the street are not lead. It's only the service line between the main and your house that could be potentially lead. There is no lead in the water. There's no lead in our overall system. It's just that service line between the main and the house. Sure. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to our Zoom. We have a couple of other things, and I always try to be pretty conscientious about time here. So let me stop the sharing. And let's see. So many of you have heard about our Ross library, and we are interested in making sure that we have updated information to you. And so I see Erica here. Erica Martinez is here. I'm going to make her a co-host right now. So Erica, you should be a co-host now if you have any information to share. But if you'd also like to unmute yourself. And so Erica Martinez is the Director of Community Engagement and Communications for the Denver Public Library System. And I think Hillary may also be on the line, but I'll let Erica acknowledge her. What we're concerned about is that we've had our public library closed for some time in the neighborhood, and there have been a lot of rumors. We hate rumors. So she is here to clear those rumors and to give us an update about when we can expect our library to reopen. So please, Erica, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Again, I've got a team of folks on here just to help answer questions and also so that you put a name to our faces. But Hillary Essner is the Ross Cherry Creek branch manager. So essentially she runs the entire branch and has been working at different locations while the branch is closed to the public, but she's on here. And then I've got one other person. Her name is Olivia Gallegos as well. She is part of our communications team. And also wanted to acknowledge that she's here in case we have any, you all have any questions, and I need some support in answering some of the chat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and share just a couple of slides with you. Yikes here. And can you all see? Whoops, that's not what I want to do. Sorry. There we go. Can somebody just let me know if you're able to see these slides?
Yes.
Awesome, perfect. Okay, so I wanted to just give you a quick overview about the branch itself. So originally it was opened in 1962. So it is a young at heart branch. It was designed by the same designers that did Stapleton Airport. They're called Ready and Ready Architects. The building is owned by the city and county of Denver. We are not, we're part of the city and county of Denver, and so all of our buildings are owned by the city. And then we've done 2 remodels from what I could find. We did one in 1993, which seemed pretty expensive and included highlights and color and angles and just modernizing the branch to make it feel a little bit more engaging. And then there was another remodel effort in 2009. Couldn't find a ton of information on that one, but it's my understanding that it was some cosmetic updates to the branch that were done. So really hasn't been touched since then. To give you a timeline, I felt like this was important to kind of walk you through what has happened even prior to the branch closing. So in 2021, the city, along with the library, it was the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, did a structural engineering review that really was focused on some deficiency, which was evaluated as part of just a normal effort that the city goes through on their buildings. So that was managed by Dottie in 2021. And then at the end of 2021, in December, they completed the review and the findings were provided to Dottie and the library. The recommendation at that point was that it really needed to do more further structural review. They did this work while people were still in the building, and I just don't know that they were able to really do the kind of work that they needed to do. So they recommended that an additional review be done. So we fast forward to just a couple of weeks after we received that report, and we decided that the branch needed to be closed for safety based on those findings, and really for the safety of staff and customers to really allow people to go into the building and do the structural review. So that happened on January 15th when we closed the branch. And then from that moment up until September, there were 2 things that happened, or actually 3. One is that the city had to issue an RFP process. So not only create the RFP, but issue it and bid it. So contractors had an opportunity to bid on it. The contractor then was selected and then did the work during the summer. I believe it started somewhere in the late June timeframe when they started that work and completed it and provided a report to us a couple of weeks ago, if not maybe about a week and a half ago. They provided that final report. So that's where we're at with the timeline. I felt like it was important to kind of walk through like what has really happened this entire year. Right now, Dottie and DPL are reviewing that report and determining like how to proceed based on that information. I want to give you some additional context for this work. Again, like for me, the question has always been like, okay, so what really prompted this concern? And as I mentioned to you, that a facilities condition assessment was done and indicated that the concrete cracking and concrete composition really had legitimate safety concerns. And that's what really prompted the 2021 review. The report that we just received now, the initial review of the report really points to the building requiring some level of work. Safety concerns remain, which is why the branch remains closed. until further notice. And a couple of other things, you know, because it is a city asset, the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure is the lead on this project. And if renovations are needed, again, which we really think we're going to need additional renovations, the project will need to go through Denver's procurement process. And that includes, you know, creating an RFP, putting it out to bid, selecting a contractor, and then having the contractor come in and do the work. And so those timeframes vary. As I demonstrated in this timeline, I mean, it took in January and September to really get all of that work done. So it does take quite some time. I just want to be realistic about the kinds of things that the process that we're working with. So what's next? So the next steps will be decided and announced probably in the next 2 weeks after the team goes through the report. Obviously, we will work to provide the community with information. We'll obviously reach out back to you all and provide an update, and appreciate the opportunity to even be included in the newsletter as we were offered this last time, but we just really didn't feel like we had enough information to do that. So we'll reach out to your RNO and other groups surrounding the neighborhood, because we know that, you know, this branch is used by more people than just Cherry Creek. We'll obviously update our website. We'll do a social media push. We'll inform the local schools surrounding the branch and just letting them know how we're going to move forward. And then we also talked about possibly doing a coffee open house where people could come in and ask questions about the project once a decision is made about how we're moving forward. I'm a little old school when it comes to this kind of stuff, so I always like to see people face to face, and I'm sorry that I couldn't be there today. But anyway, we're trying to think of ways that we're going to push this information out to the community. So as far as service goes, the team is really committed to working on what it looks like to bring service into the neighborhood. You know, that could be done in a variety of different ways. And so we're going to work on what that looks like so that you do have some kind of service in your area in the meantime. Obviously, I want to just highlight that there are 2 branches near you. You've got the Eugene Field branch on 8th and University, and the Schlesman branch as well. And both of those branches have actually staff, I believe, from Cherry Creek. So you may see somebody, a familiar face there. And then, you know, we do have in-person programming at all of our branches throughout the system. We've got, you know, 27 locations, obviously, with this one being closed and Blair Caldwell being closed. We still have 25 locations across the city that are open and are hosting in-person programming. We also have virtual programming that you can do right from your home. And those are for people of all ages. We've got a really good list of virtual programming. I've been super impressed with how creative our staff have been with our programming. So trust me, you will find something in there that you can connect with and enjoy, so that you can, you know, have different ways to connect to your community since the space isn't open to you. And then obviously we have e-materials that are always available on our website if you choose to use us that way. So how to stay up to date. I encourage you to follow us on Facebook on our Cherry Creek page. Obviously, our website will also have information. And then you can always call our general number that's available to you all the time. So it doesn't close. We've got a way to answer your questions no matter the time of day, but they will help answer those questions. And if they don't have the answers, they'll get that information to someone on our team, and then we'll be able to. And please know that our staff really do miss you. I'm going to turn it over and see if Hillary has anything to add, but I know that she misses the community dearly and is really looking forward to coming back. But I will go ahead and open it up to questions. I wish that I had more definite next steps for us, but I feel like we're almost there, and we'll be able to have that information to you soon.
Eric, I guess there are just a couple quick questions and we're going to have to move on because our time is coming to a close here at Bromwell. But I think what in the chat, I saw a couple questions about drop off and then the possibility of having something where people could drop off in Cherry Creek. Can you answer that?
Yeah, I definitely know that that is something that we've been discussing in terms of how to drop off or pick up. We'd have to come up with some solutions on how to do that because right now we don't have space for it and you can't access the building. So we'd have to come up with a solution to be able to do that. But I will take this back to the group and make sure that they're aware that that would be really helpful to have.
Okay, and so for now, we know that you just have to drop off at the other locations for right now. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. And yes. No, just if you could just tell me, we really don't. Sorry.
Just to mention that items can be returned to any library across the system, and we do not have late fees right now, so I hope that is not a point of stress for anyone.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Hillary. We got rid of late fees, 3 years ago? You know, giving you a little bit more flexibility with when you can return those. We do want them back, of course, but if you are a little late, we don't mind. You know that life gets in the way sometimes. Any other questions?
You know, right now, I really I encourage everybody because we're running out of time here with our Bromwell, and it's a little difficult to get questions. Taking this microphone over to people doesn't work because the people on Zoom can't hear. So what I would encourage you to do, if you don't mind, is send your question. Ma'am, do you want to just stand up and say your question, and then I'll try to repeat it real quick, but I don't.
They did some work. It's done in September. Now they have more work to do.
Fair enough. So what I understand as a summary, and Erica, the response was people are a little confused by the presentation tonight in terms of what really is going on in next steps. And what I'm hearing is that they had to go in. There is a process, an RFP process. They did that work. And then they still have another set of analysis to go, but they did some work. Is that right?
So work hasn't been done on it. What we've done is we've had a
analysis bid,
right. Had multiple consultants do the structural survey to identify what the problem is.
You put out an RFP. Was that only to do the survey then?
Correct.
Yeah. And so they're now doing the RFP to get the work done. Is that right?
So
but that's what they're looking at now, is that next step.
So the idea is that they'll finish going through the report and identify what actually needs to happen, what kind of renovation the building needs. And so that's sort of where we're at right now. My assumption.
So, but Erica, I think what the frustration is do we know for sure that we are on a path to get it fixed?
Mm-hmm.
We intend to get this fixed, but I don't know what's in that final report, right? That final report could have a plethora of issues, right? And so how long will it take for us to fix it will depend on what needs to be fixed, right? Is it a simple fix that's going to take 3 months, or is it a fix that's going to take 6 to 8 months? Like, that's the piece that I don't know at this point.
Okay, but I think the real question is it going to be fixed and not sold or taken offline? Is the intent of the group to get it fixed?
What I can tell you is that the library nor the city have talked about selling this building. That has not been a conversation. People have asked me about, like, I can't give you information that simply is not a conversation that we've had.
Okay, so
we've never had that conversation.
And I think what we have to do right now is, Erica, if you could do that and keep us in the loop, and maybe some some reports that are in writing so that people can look at that. And because I think it was a little confusing to me, but then I'm looking at time and everything else. But I think the goal is, and what you're saying to us is that there's no truth to the rumor that the property is being sold. They're still analyzing it, they'll bid it, and every direction to date has been toward fixing it. And if it comes back differently, then when the RFP goes out, I guess you'll report that to us, correct?
That is correct. I mean, we want to add more libraries to our system, not remove. And I'm just as anxious as all of you to find out what's really, what is needed to get this building back up and running.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. We'll watch for further information and developments, but since you said that that was being done now, we'll watch for that soon. And in the meantime, you know, these ideas about a mobile book library in the area would be helpful because we still do have that parking structure behind it, or the parking lot that might be used. So thank you guys for being here. I'm going to move us on. I am going to just ask for a moment. So thank you, Andrew, very much. I'm going to ask if the principal is here from Bromwell. I think she was going to try to be here. I think many of you know that we met here before COVID, and since then we have a new principal. We asked her to join us at some point to meet everybody because this is our local school and we'd like to, you know, wrap our arms around this place as ours. They are starting programs again where they may be taking volunteers, like they do parent volunteers, but they'll take community volunteers. So watch for that. That'll be another option in the future. So thank you. I know we're running, I like to be, we're an hour and a half and we are out of here. So we've got 15 minutes left to address the issue, the last subject on our
What is it?
schedule today. Okay. So let me just, yeah, the big test here with our, yeah. So the next topic is the subject of a Denver landmark application that was filed for 401 North Madison. This is an architect, Richard Crowther. I hope I said that correctly. And he and his wife built that house and lived in it. He is quite a famous architect. And we do have a presentation by Kara Hahn. I'm going to find her here. And Kara, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And I'm going to make you a code. Do you have a presentation you'd like to pull up?
I do. It's saying that I can't share my screen.
Hang on one second. Let me go back to a different view and so I can make you a co-host. Okay, you should now be able to share your screen. And I will put this on speaker view as well. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm hoping everyone can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay, so my name is Kara Hahn. I am the Planning and Regulatory Supervisor for Landmark Preservation. I am filling in for my colleague Becca, who is overseeing this case but had a family emergency. Landmark Preservation was established in 1967 with the purpose of preserving, protecting our historic resources. Since that time, there have been 356 individual landmarks and 58 historic structures throughout the city and county of Denver. Sounds like a lot of historic districts, but really it's about 4.5% of the city, or about 1 in 25 structures. In order for a property to be designated as a landmark, it needs to maintain its integrity or look like what it used to look like, be 30 years of age or older, or meet at least 3 out of 10 criteria. And those 10 criteria are related to areas of history, architecture, geography, and culture. So that's, in order to be a Denver landmark, have to meet 3 out of 10, which is a very high threshold within the country. It's one of the highest in the country. We also do demolition reviews. So we review all primary buildings within the city and county of Denver that are proposed for demolition. We review the properties to see if they have the potential to be a landmark in an individual Denver landmark. So a lot of cities do designations or do demo review. And why do cities do it? We do it as a tool to ensure that communities have the opportunity to save potentially significant buildings. It's to prevent the loss of important buildings within the city and county of Denver, and sometimes to be able to find a person who might be willing to purchase or rehab the building. And so that's a lot of reasons why communities and why we in particular do demolition review. So we had our ordinance updated in 2006. The ordinance is just the rules that govern landmark that involve community dialogue. So it was established in 2006 that we review all buildings citywide. And then in 2018 and 2019, we had a change to increase the dialogue within the community, to allow community members to have the opportunity and the voice to say, you know, this is a really important building to us, and we'd like to see, have a discussion to see if this building can be saved. There have been buildings throughout the city that have been saved through this process. Up in sort of the Tennyson area, the Howard Berkeley Chapel, the Ghost Rose House, which is on York Street across from City Park, Tom's Diner, which you guys may have just seen, has just been reopened as a bar and lounge, and 3435 Albion Street, which is a beautiful Queen Anne that has also been saved. We look at over the past 5 years, we've been reviewing demolitions, and we review between 600 and 700 demolitions per year. We had a little dip there in sort of the COVID era. So we review, as of last year, we reviewed 762 demolitions citywide. Of those, we approved 755, or 97.7% immediately after we reviewed it. Of the demolitions that came in, 17% were found to have the potential to be a Denver landmark. They were publicly posted so that the community was aware that these buildings were proposed for demolition. Of those that were posted, about 1% went through, or of all the buildings that came in for demolition, I'm sorry, all the buildings that came in for demolition, about 1% went through this public process where the community was able to engage, talk about if there was a way to save the building. So it's a really rare process that the buildings are found to have the potential to be a Denver landmark because our threshold is so high for designation. And it's even rarer that there is a notice of intent to, pause and have this dialogue. And then it's even more exceptionally rare for a designation to be submitted. In this case, a designation application has been submitted for 401 North Madison. The application states that it's significant under architecture for the architectural style of late modern, as a significant work of Richard Crowther, and that it is associated with passive solar house design and the American environmental movement. So the application has come in, it's under review by landmark staff as we speak. And so the next steps in the process are sort of this end part here. A demo app came into Denver Landmark. We reviewed it, we posted it, allowed for the community to comment. We heard from the community, from numerous individuals, that this was an important building within the community. There was a stakeholder process, talked about, are there ways to possibly find a win-win where the building could be saved and the developer could meet their financial goals. Unfortunately, there was no win-win solution that could be found. So 3 residents of Denver submitted a designation application. And It is going to the Landmark Preservation Commission on November 1st. The commission is made up of experts, of architects, architectural historians, historic preservationists. They will review it to determine if they find that it meets the 3 out of the 10 criteria. If they do, it will be forwarded to Denver City Council. City Council has a wider purview and they can review it to see if it meets the criteria, as well as if they take into account public comment and the wishes of the property owner. In the end, it's up to Denver City Council to determine if a property becomes a Denver landmark. And then here is our contact, Becca Deershaw, who is the primary on this, and my email as well while Becca is out. I know that was a lot of information really quickly, but I know you guys were all looking to try to move through this. I'm happy to answer any questions. You can email me or Becca, or I can answer any questions right now, and I will stop sharing.
I think what we are going to do now, because we're nearing the end of our time, is to have you hang on, if you don't mind. I know that it's been a long evening for you.
Come
Carol.
on.
Thank you for staying in there. And if anybody, again, if you're on the Zoom, please mute. And we are going to invite a couple of folks. I will tell you all just a little bit more about this property. It's a large lot. It was built in 1978. Hello, just please hold on. I don't know who.
Yeah, mute.
Yes, please mute yourselves if you don't mind.
Yes.
Zoom. This property is 12,500 square foot lot. And the proposal and the developer who acquired the property is here tonight, as are some of the persons who made the application for the designation and have been trying to work something out, and they can tell you a little bit about that status. But the proposal was for 2 new duplex units on the property. So a total of 4 new units on that site. Which is not unusual. It's pretty common for a normal 6250 lot, which is 50 by 125, to have a duplex. This is 2 of those. So they're not trying to do any greater density. And I think the expectation was that when they acquired this property, they would be able to go through that process, as they have been developing in Denver for quite some time. So right now, what I would like to tell you all as residents of Cherry Creek North is this matters to us. Your voice matters to us. We will be getting some outreach to you all by a blast email. If you are not signed up for Cherry Creek North Neighborhood Association, do become a member, sign up. We will in the future have ways for you to get information and for us to gather your email, but that's how we get this information out to you all. It is a November 1 hearing. It is in the afternoon. You have until noon on Halloween to provide your written comments, and we will blast that information out to you so that you can do so, where you live, are you close to the property, you're in Cherry Creek, and what your feelings are about it. This is where we really want to make sure you have a right to have a say. So having said that, I'm going to give all of 5 minutes to each of our presenters here tonight. And I think I would start with the applicants who did bring some information to hand out. So if you're interested in this, Alan Gass has brought the information. There are some handouts here, and I'll ask Alan Gass and Michael Hughes to come up. Or do you just want Alan? Oh, and Tom. Okay. Hi, Tom. And they will talk for 5 minutes, and then we will allow the developers to do the same. I will, when he's talking about it, I will try to do that because I do have a picture. So let me give this. Hi, Tom. So I'm going to turn that over to you while I run this, but if you can kind of get close to this so we can see you while I try to do this. Okay, please proceed.
All right, I want to thank you all for having us here tonight at your neighborhood meeting. I've come with two friends, Alan and Mike. So I am an architect in town here. Last Thursday was my last official day on the Board of Trustees of Historic Denver. And I'm also the zoning committee chair of the Hilltop Neighborhood Association. Alan is an architect. He actually knew Richard Crowther, and Alan actually signed the letter nominating him to become a fellow at the American Institute of Architects. Alan, of course, has many accomplishments himself, and for instance, is a long-standing Cherry Creek Steering Committee member. He still does that. Michael Hughes is the president of the Hilltop Neighborhood Association. He actually lives in a Crowther house that he remodeled in 2006? 04. Okay, thank you. Remember the date. So what I've known both of these guys for a number of years, but what brought us together for this particular effort, we are all members of an organization called DocoMoMo. Funny name. It stands for Documentation and Conservation of the Modern Movement. It's a preservation movement, and it is actually an international organization. The Colorado chapter just started just as COVID got started, so we're still trying to get our feet here. So we're here to let you know about a noteworthy building by a noteworthy man in your backyard, and to let you know that you have an opportunity to do something for your neighborhood, its future residents in the city of Denver. And this would be to help us with our efforts to preserve the home of Richard Crowther at 401 Madison Street. So who was Richard Crowther? He is internationally known for his design, architecture, and research. He was a pioneer in architectural ecology, what we now call green building. He anticipated the energy and environmental concerns that are top of mind today. He was a proponent of sustainable architecture decades before it became popular. His first solar home, if you can imagine this, was in 1943, 80 years ago, a long time. He came to Denver in 1948. He was instrumental in the development of the Cherry Creek neighborhood, as he designed many office and retail buildings as well as residences here in the neighborhood. Sadly, many of them have been demolished. He and his work achieved international renown. He wrote, based on his research, he wrote several books, including Sun Earth. Alan brought this along. It set a benchmark in holistic architectural design, and it's still used as textbooks today. He lectured at the Smithsonian Institution, solar conferences, and universities across the US. So why is this house important? Well, it was his own house and office and solar research laboratory, he called it. And oops, my notes. Okay, this was not his first pass, but he completed it in 1979 at the height of his career. The house was widely published in magazines and books. It won awards for its groundbreaking design. This house is important, in our opinion, to Denver residents, industry, higher education, and our leadership in the international community. When we think about organizations and efforts that have been made since this house was built, the Rocky Mountain Institute is here in Colorado. The National Renewable Energy Labs are here. Renewable and Sustainable Energy Institute at CU. Colorado's clean energy businesses help drive our economy. Why is it important to Cherry Creek North? Research has shown that preserving historic homes like this improves quality of life and raises property values in the neighborhood. Research has shown that tearing down a house like this and building a new one actually takes more energy than just trying to work with the existing one. Is a house, I'm about time, right? If there's any questions, please ask me afterwards. Yeah, that's right.
Application and get it out to you guys so that you can, well, Tom and Alan has already provided me some of this to you in an email format. There are Westward articles here. There are some letters of support. I've already received some emails of support. And these guys are very interested in this. Please,
We can't really hear the audio.
okay, Kay, we'll do our best here. But we'll get this information to you again. Your opportunity to respond in writing will be by noon on October 31. So you've heard from them. We will get some of this information to you and provide an opportunity for you to ask some questions. And now I would like to introduce the developer. They've acquired the property already. Michael Rieger, did I say that correctly? And Michael, please come up, and they're with Mag Builders. They do have a pretty robust website if you want to see their work. And they've done a lot in Cherry Creek and Denver. So we thank you for being here.
Good evening. I'm Mike Moylan, CFO of Mag Builders. Mike Greiger standing next to me is CEO. Mike and I have been building homes since 2008 in Denver. Got together at that time, and ever since then we've been together building single. Sure. Oh, gotcha. We've been building duplexes and single families throughout Denver since 2008. We've currently built 17 homes in Cherry Creek. Recently just got done with a project on Milwaukee Street, 360 to 344 Milwaukee. And so currently what we like to do, we bought this property for $4 million with the intent to subdivide into 2 lots and build 2 duplexes. We have not designed them yet. We're working on that. But our intent was to demo this home, and that still is how we want to proceed. We feel like a lot of the neighbors think this is an eyesore. It's been vacant since 2007. And doesn't fit in the neighborhood. We have not seen anything similar to that anywhere in the neighborhood, and the entire block is mostly new homes. And that's kind of our stance on this. And you know, we are willing to work with the applicants if we could come up with a solution, but we just haven't had any luck in that. Thank you.
Can't hear you.
So here I am, Kay. Yeah, yes. So it doesn't come on the radar, and this is what Kara was talking about. It didn't get on their radar till the demo permit was applied for. And at that point, the property had been vacant. It has fallen into some disrepair. I've gotten calls from neighbors who said, hey, there's a kid skateboarding down the angle of the house. Call 311. So we've had reports on that property before. And I think that there was never a thought when it was in that state of disrepair that somebody cared enough to step up. And I think, of course, all of us would say, gee, maybe if this could have happened before, you know, what are the arguments? And it really is, as I understand it, that it's a process, that it doesn't get on the landmark radar Is that right? Until there's an application to demolish it. So, sorry? Correct. That's right. Is that, I mean, it does seem to me now learning about this, that there's a little bit of trouble in that process because it doesn't come to anybody's attention until somebody's already invested in the property. So again, it starts a process. That process has started. Yes.
No, I don't want to interrupt it.
No, go ahead, because I'm going to bring this to a close any minute now. It did not come up at the time of closing, like it was described, and I think this is new for quite a few people. It and Kara, I don't know if you want to talk about, but this is what Kara was pointing out, that when they get the demo permits, they look at all of these to see if there's a property.
Yes, we do look at them to determine if there's potential for a Denver landmark when something comes in. There's also a process that's called a certificate of demolition eligibility. It's the same review, but it's intended for developers to do this early on in the process so that they're coming in at the beginning versus the end. So it provides development potential and certainty for developers. So there is a process that is part of a due diligence that's typically are often done by developers early on in the process. So we don't have it at the end.
That is true. Having been a lawyer practicing in real estate law for many years, it is often the case that before the property closes, as part of due diligence, they have that application for demo filed, so that there, if there is going to be an issue, it is caught at that stage. But again, I think you have to look at how many of those applications, and as Kara described, there are hundreds of these permits, and only a tiny sliver get pulled for possible designation, and then it comes out to the community. So maybe there was an expectation by this owner that this has been really in disrepair for some time, and but ours is not to say, to judge who did something or not, or who's at fault or whatever. This is the process we're kind of stuck with, and so it's only at that point that this now comes to us. And our obligation here is to make sure everybody understands this is an issue. You have a voice, and we want to tell you how you can express that voice. We don't really believe at this point, if there was a group that wanted to talk to us about this, when we did the surveying of the neighborhood on the group living amendment, it took quite a bit of time to gather that information and to collect it and then deliver it to the city. I'm not saying that we wouldn't try to do that, but because there's a direct link to get your voices heard, I think that's probably the most efficient way to do that. As again, this process comes to my email, and I called right away and said, how do we get information about this? And fortunately, we were having this meeting, so it was a good time to try to bring it to you. And I don't think we're probably going to get live on our website and in that time period, but in the meantime, I will have things on the old one on the very front page about this within the next 3 or 4 days that tell you all who to contact. I'll give you Kara's information and the others on her team. I'll give you the builders' information if they want to be able to be contacted. And certainly Alan and Mike and Tom have, and well, it's also on the Facebook. Thank you. Linda Barker is our great Facebook poster. So this is on there, and it is an important issue. I don't know if many of you even knew that this was happening, but since we've been pushing this out, we've had certainly a lot of interest. So we want to do our part. Let us know how we can help you all make your voices heard. We think that's the best way right now, but if somebody has another idea, we're open to hearing about it. So we thank you all for presenting Jim's fabulous, scary report on our water. But they're on it, and are we so glad he's our guy? Yes.
Yes.
So, and we appreciate the library update. We're going to continue to dog that issue for you all. So stay tuned about that. As soon as we get information, we'll push it out in reports. And then we also really appreciate our presenters and respect their positions. And those of you who really want to dig in, we're here to help you do that. So thank you for being here in person. Thank you for being online, everybody.
Thank you, Lou.
I assume that this will be a good thing for the future. So we'll continue to try to do this hybrid, and I promise I'll do it better next time. So thank you all. Good night. Again, if anybody wants these handouts about this project, help yourselves up there.
Get me off, get me off, get me off. Get me off. Leave.